Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I have a candle, because I don't want the lights on. I'm taking down my hair. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reading a book, because this is the only way I'm going to be able to read a book, so if I take a video of myself. Yeah. I have lights on, and then I have a Christmas tree right next to me. Right there. As you can see, my dirty chair. It's Jade Green by Phyllis, Reynolds, Nayler. That's a great name. Okay. Should we start with chapter 1? Sorry if I look weird in this. I'm kind of going a little crazy. It's okay. So, we'll start with chapter 1. See, chapter 1 right here. See that? We're going to read this. Probably going to read to chapter 2. Do one of these every single day because this is all I'm going to get. What I'm going to do. Alright. So, chapter 1. When the carriage turned into Stone Street, it was as though the house were watching. There were two gables without a window in each. The curtains, slightly parted like cat's eyes, not quite closed, spying. Earlier that day, I had arrived by train in Charleston, and had at once been restless to move. About after the tiresome journey from Ohio, indeed, I felt constrained in my long gray skirt and jacket, a bonnet of gray and blue on my head. I was hungry as well, for in the first few hours I had eaten all the bread and cheese I had packed for the trip. Even more, I longed for someone to talk to. As I have adventurous spirit, I asked the driver, who met me at the station, if I could sit up. If I could sit up front with him rather than in the carriage. There was still a considerable way to go before we reached the town of Whispers. You hear that, guys? Town of Whispers. This is so stupid what I'm doing. Like, I can see myself. I'm not talking to myself. Sorry. I'm just... Okay. An old name for a town, I said to the man. A good-hearted soul with a red face and large ears, who helped me onto the driver's bench where there was a much better view than any you could have in the carriage. They say it was named for the trees, Miss Sparrow, he answered, hauling himself up beside me with many a grunt and wheeze. It's the sound they make when the wind blows through 'em. Like an old lady's, they are always whispering. This candle keeps flickering, and it's really going to start bugging me. Can you stop? Calm it down, dude. Is that better? It's probably because I'm breathing towards it. Alright. Sort of lost where I was. Give me a second. And found it. And then with a final look around to see that what little I owned in this world was secure on the rack, he gave a soft G up, and the horse began its 2-hour journey to the place where I would spend the rest of my life, God willing. I was much gratified when the man drew from his coat pocket a cinnamon bun, and I accepted eagerly. You're coming to help out the cook, eh? He said, leaning forward so that his elbows rested on his knees. All the better to stay on the long side, I suppose. Yes, sir, I answered, And it's a good thing that they'd have me, for not one other relative would take me in. You're orphaned, then. I nodded. My father died 4 years ago, September, and my mother died last month. I did not tell him that after my father's death she gave birth to a stillborn daughter, all of which grieved her so that she eventually died in a madhouse. But now, I said more brightly, I will live in South Carolina and be cousin and house keeper both. Tell me about the house. Ah, miss, he said, that old place is, he paused, haunted. Haunted? I teased. Sorry, I messed up. He startled. It could use some cheer. And your uncle will be pleased to have you, the driver said quickly. I don't know about that, I told him. It wasn't right away he agreed to take me in, and then only because there was no one else. The driver gave me as kind of a smile as I had ever seen. He'll take one look at you and be glad he let you come, he said. And my cousin? I asked. It will be wonderful having a friend my own age to talk with. Why, Mr. Charles is old enough to be your father, near 40, I expect, the driver said. 40, I cried in dismay. Surely not. That he is, miss, and he don't live where his father neither takes some rooms in town. I believe, let me restart that. That he is, miss, and don't live with his father neither. Take some rooms in town. I believe. No birds of a feather, them too. This is a long freaking chapter. Losing my breath. I slumped back against the seat, too disappointed to say more. How could it be that I was 15 and Charles so old? True, I had never laid eyes on him, except I was so small I could not remember, living far from the home of many southern relatives. But the more I thought about it, I realized that Uncle Joffrey was 12 years my father's senior, and while he and his wife may have had their child early, my parents had me late. You might hear a cat meowing and scratching at the door because she wants to come in, but I don't like her, so she's not gonna come in. She's a rat. I don't like her. It's okay. At least I hope it is for you guys. Like, somebody's freaking watching this. Sorry. My dad watches these. Oops. Okay. Well, never mind, I said. At least, finishing the cinnamon bun, I shall make them glad I have come and do my best. Of course you will, said the driver, and we passed the rest of the time discussing the climate. Which, he said, I would find different in Ohio. The storms of the Carolina coast were legendary, he told me, but Emma Hastings, remember that name? Actually, I don't know. Emma Hastings, the cook, would make up for it, for she had a heart as warm as an oven and big as the moon. That's a pretty big heart. It must be pretty big. I'm kidding. Ow! What the heck am I doing with my life? Okay, let's finish this. Do you play the piano, miss? He asked. They've a grand piano in the parlor. A little, I told him. Indeed, I had only 8 years schooling, which was quite enough. It was decided for a girl of my station, though less than some of the boys I knew had acquired. But I could play the piano well enough to amuse myself and at times entertain others as well. Excuse me, sorry. Whoa, sorry. There was a carriage robe under the seat, and I wrapped it about me as we rode. I had hoped when the train has arrived in Charleston to find flowers near bloom, but had been disappointed that spring had not yet come to this part of the country either. The tips of the trees were a soft pink, but the land along the road to Whispers had a chilled gray look. Sorry, really bad at reading, but it's okay. I just watched myself say that was so freaking weird. I'm sorry. It was when we turned up Stone Street that I felt the first foreboding. The bare branches of the trees that lined our path seemed like slender fingers reaching out to ensnare me. And the trees themselves did not whisper so much as scrape and scratch as the carriage went by. Oh, wow. I'm so messed up, dude. Ew. Dude, we've been doing this for 12 minutes. I'm a slow reader. Where was I? Then at the end of the street, the house. The large brown house with the 2 eyes made me suddenly clutch at the driver's arm as if to say, turn back. Sorry, that was my phone going off and it's connected to my speaker, so crud, we'll see how this sounds. Forgot about my speaker, but it's okay. It's all right, miss, the driver said. It's a big, dark house, but Emma Hastings is a good sort. She'll look out for you. The long journey from Ohio had undisturbed me. I decided for here I had a home at least, and a 40-year-old cousin was better than no cousin at all. I had already been told that Uncle Jeffrey spoke little, so I did not expect encouragement or conversation there. Sorry. But I resolved to be cheerful and obedient nonetheless. Obedient except in one small thing, and my heart began to race as I remembered my obedience. The solicitor had told me that there was a certain condition to living in my uncle's house. I could bring along whatever I liked except anything of the color green. This was strictly forbidden. You can't be green? You can't bring green? What? That's weird. Such a strange demand, I thought. I had a green dress and some trinkets I would have to leave behind, yet for the offer for a roof over my head, I agreed to the terms. As I packed for the journey, however, I decided the promise or no, there was one thing I could not leave behind. A photograph of my mother, which has given to me. It's a frame of green silk. How I dared to disobey a man I had not even met. Save when I was small, the only person who had given me shelter now seemed a frightening thing indeed. Yet I Sorry, I'm really bad at reading. I yearned so for my mother that I had placed the photograph and frame at the bottom of the trunk beneath the summer clothes, and there it rested as we neared my uncle's. Thus obedient to all his wishes but one, I alighted from the carriage, my eyes on the house, and opened the iron gate. Okay, that's the end of chapter 1, as you can see. So there's chapter 2. But I'm done. And we'll continue this tomorrow. It's Friday right now. So, like, tomorrow's Saturday. So, we'll do chapter 2 tomorrow. So, yeah, that's it. So, like, if you liked it. I'm really bad at reading, so you probably didn't, which is fine, because we don't care. But thanks anyways for tuning in. I'll link my Snapchat down below, and, yeah, my Snapchat if you want it. So, bye now.